Why should someone have the right to choose their own religion? Why should we treat other cultures with consideration and respect? Why should education be accessible to everyone? Why should we be prevented from owning slaves? One might say that, well, it's because as humans we have fundamental rights to self-determination, freedom, opportunity, and fair enough, I agree with that. But why do we instinctively consider that we have such fundamental rights? Where did they even come from? You may not be familiar with Persia. This great ancient empire was the largest the world had ever known at its time, spreading from the desert of Libya in the east, all the way to India in the east and Libya in the west. Sorry. It can be hard for us to grasp the sheer size of such an administrative territory, as well as the tremendous diversity of its population. Who in the world could manage to unify such an empire and then rule over all of its peoples efficiently? Hereby enters Cyrus the Great, the man who founded the Achaemenid Persian Empire in 559 BC. While we do know many things about Persia's first king, he still remains a very mystical and romanticized figure for scholars to study, and that's because for centuries Cyrus has been considered to be the first example of the archetypical wise king, showing unprecedented decency, fairness, and consideration to his subjects. This most notably his policy of tolerance towards conquered people and their traditions that altered the course of history. This tolerance is on full cuneiform display in the writings of the Cyrus cylinder, an ancient artifact now exposed at the British Museum in London that recalls a declaration made by the king after his entry into Babylon in 539 BC. The edict, which advocates for religious and cultural tolerance, is considered to be the first ever human rights document. Let us now then venture into history to study the legendary life of Cyrus on our quest to understanding how and why human rights norms came to be. What we will find is that Cyrus the Great and his cylinder inspired numerous subsequent historical figures in their own ways of governing and pioneered the development of human rights norms, ranging not only from religious and cultural freedom, but also to equality before the law and the revolutionary abolishment of slavery. Now, what exactly is the Cyrus cylinder? And what does it talk about? Well, as you can see, it's a rather small clay cylinder that relates the events of Cyrus's triumphant entry into Babylon. The text explains how the citizens of the city welcomed Cyrus with no resistance whatsoever and were instead rather pleased with his arrival. Indeed, the previous king, Nabonidus, was viewed as disrespectful of the Babylonian gods, which infuriated the population. Once Cyrus entered, however, he spoke in the name of Marduk, which is the highest Babylonian divinity, saying that, quote, he called Cyrus king of Anshan by name, he appointed him to lordship over the whole world. To his city, Babylon, he caused him to go, he made him take the road to Babylon, going as a friend and companion at his side. As we can see, he establishes a very close relationship between himself and the god in this text. And the reason why these claims are considered significant is that Cyrus's own religion was actually Zoroastrianism, which is an ancient religion that differentiated itself by being the first known monotheistic faith, which was focused on the worship of one god, Ahura Mazda. In other words, Marduk, the Babylonian god, was not Cyrus's god. And despite that, he still claimed, quote again, Marduk the great lord moved the noble heart of the residents of Babylon to me, while I gave daily attention to his worship. That's not all. Cyrus also restored all of the city's religious temples to their previous glory, which was a very tenuous and unnecessary enterprise. So why? Considering that Cyrus was actually of another monotheistic faith, the cylinder can then be considered as a profound display of religious tolerance and consideration. Whilst he could have tried to bring down his own religion upon conquered people, he instead showed understanding and respect for their own cultures, and that is how he differed from other rulers. In actuality, this pattern of tolerance is observable throughout Cyrus's whole legacy. It's not just a cylinder. In fact, his whole way of governing was centered on mutual understanding and cultural reciprocity. For instance, upon entering Babylon, Cyrus also freed the Jews who were enslaved there and allowed them to return to their homeland, even offering a military escort to protect them on the way, and he helped them rebuild their own religious temples there that were dedicated to their own god Yahweh. Cyrus is even mentioned in the book of Isaiah and the book of Ezra, which are two sacred Jewish texts, as a clear servant of the Lord, which is another incredible display of religious tolerance because he was not actually Jewish. These events are unsurprising considering that Cyrus wished to create a diversity-based, universal civilization that relied on reciprocal learning between cultures. However, his contributions to the advancement of human rights went far beyond religious and cultural freedom. Cyrus created a highly accessible education system in which children of all backgrounds were treated equally. In that sense, he really pioneered the right to education. The young men were actually taught the importance of equality before the law, which pioneered equitable justice. Also, the process of decision-making in the military was democratized. Cyrus made it a point, contrary to other kings, to consult his army and only take actions once consensus was reached among generals and soldiers. Finally, Cyrus abolished slavery, which is why it was not a general practice in the Persian Empire. This accomplishment in particular is incredible, especially for the ancient world. Consider that the United States abolished slavery in 1865, more than 2,000 years after Cyrus did so. In that sense, he pioneered the rights of self-determination and freedom, freedom from oppression and freedom from enslavement. For all of those reasons, Cyrus has historically been considered to be the precursor of human rights and an ideal ruler that influenced many after him. Indeed, many rulers attempted to emulate Cyrus's way of governing, and most notably was Alexander the Great, who lived around 200 years after Cyrus, and as you may know, in his relatively short life, he conquered a large part of Asia, including all of the Persian Empire. Alexander really felt that his destiny and that of Cyrus were linked. He felt as if he was his righteous successor as unifier of the world, or king of kings. This was seen during his conquest of Asia, when he stopped in Pasargadae, where Cyrus was buried, to pay his respect on his tomb. Just like his predecessor, Alexander showed great religious tolerance. He was proclaimed pharaoh in Memphis, and son of Zeus Ammon in the oasis of Shiwa in the Libyan desert. He also adopted the practices of some conquered peoples, notably Persians, to reinforce his status as the new ruler of Asia. And that was while his Greek and Macedonian soldiers strongly disapproved of this cultural openness. But Alexander, like Cyrus, had a broader vision. He aimed at the creation of a unified world empire through cultural fusion and reciprocity. He understood, like Cyrus, that conquered peoples should be respected and their cultures appreciated. And that is why he inducted many Persians, Babylonians, and others into his army. To this day, many other excellent leaders have been inspired by Cyrus's qualities, and administrations have been influenced by the Persian infrastructure that he helped build. Think of the qualities we associate with great leaders today: temperance, fairness, strength, level-headedness. Those were all the qualities of Cyrus. The influence that the Cyrus calendar had on the development of human rights cannot be overstated. Its message of cultural respect and tolerance, along with its promotion of religious freedom, was simply revolutionary. However, we saw that it is only one of Cyrus the Great's contributions to the advancement of human rights. Indeed, we learned that the legendary leader formed a whole administrative and educative system based on freedom of race, religion, and association. As if that were not enough, he advocated for the notions of equality before the law, equal access to education, a democratization of the military, and the abolishment of slavery. The mythical persona of Cyrus has also influenced numerous world leaders to this day, most notably Alexander the Great. And the contributions of Cyrus and his calendar to the advancement of human rights have above all been recognized by the United Nations, who proudly exposed a replica offered by Hiram in 1971 of the famous clay cylinder in the hallways of their headquarters in New York. To conclude, if you are ever to wonder why you consider universal human rights to be self-evident, think back to Cyrus the Great and how it was he, thousands of years ago, who laid the groundwork for our modern conception of tolerance and freedom.